All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Saviano, and I am the Senior Program Coordinator at Nebraska Appleseed in our Economic Justice Program. We are a nonprofit law and policy organization that is working for justice and opportunity for all Nebraskans. That's what we like to say, at least. Nebraska Appleseed has been focused on school meals and summer meal work for the last 15, 20 years. And just this year have worked really hard to put on these webinars and support Nebraska Department of Ed as you all prepare for the summer. Thank you for joining us today. This is Nebraska's Summer Food Service Program's Best Practices Training Webinar number 2. The first one was Tuesday, February 18th, and a recording of that is actually on our website. It is at neappleseed.org/summerfood, and it focused on on-site activities, as well as developing partnerships in the community. Okay, so we are recording this. We are recording it so we can post it, and more of Nebraska sponsors can find it online. But the hosts for today's webinar are me, as well as Bailey Hanson, here our Youth Ambassador at Nebraska Appleseed, and Katie Parch, part of Nebraska Department of Education. Katie, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Most of you on the webinar today are probably familiar with me because you've received lots of emails from me in the springtime as we prepare for summer meals. So I just want to welcome you and want to thank Eric and Bailey for the effort they've put into providing some really great resources that I hope you're able to put in place this summer.
Thank you, Katie. All right, today we are going to be focused on menu planning and advertising, which are some hot topics that have come up from our survey of sponsors that we accomplished, I believe, about 6-7 months ago. And then we did some follow-up interviews with sponsors around the state. Menu planning and advertising showed up as best practices, and we have some guest speakers that are going to share some of their exciting and kind of really innovative ways that they're using both of these to get students to participate. We're going to give you all a chance to ask questions near the end, so feel free to unmute yourself at that time and we can speak up, but write those down as they come up in the meantime. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with some next steps and how you all can support others getting best practices going at their sites too. All right, I'll hand it over to Katie to share about the Summer Food Service Equipment Grant.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I just want to put a plug out there to remind everyone that the expansion grant for equipment or even other activities related to your summer meals program is available right now. The application is open through February 28th, so you've got until next Friday to formulate some ideas and get that online application completed. And you can find that on the Summer Food Service news page on our website. And I know Eric also has a link to it from the Appleseed webpage as well. But we want you to know that you can use that money for a variety of things. Some of that might be food preparation or food service equipment or anything you might need to acquire as far as equipment goes to hold hot foods hot or cold foods cold. If you decide that you want to take your at a meal service site that's not in a traditional cafeteria type setting, and we encourage you to do that, and the funds are available for things like that. We also want you to know that the funds can be used to do some outreach and promotion for your program. That might mean you want to use a little bit of grant money to pay for a radio spot or an advertisement that gets aired frequently throughout the summer months, or maybe you want to add an advertisement to the local newspaper to promote your summer program. The funds can be used to support that as well. We would even pay you a little bit of money to pay some staff to canvass the neighborhood or the community that your site exists in. So we've got some free door hangers we can send to you, and then you can pay a couple of people to do a couple of hours of work to distribute those door hangers across the community. So if you have questions about specific grant-funded activities you're considering doing, but you're not sure whether or not those costs are allowable, please feel free to email or call me at the department, and you can find my contact information on the NDE's website. So I encourage you to do that, and I'm here to answer any questions you have. I want you to know you're eligible for up to $15,000 per summer, and almost all of our grant applications for activities have been funded in the past. We have up to $90,000 to award cumulatively for each summer, and we don't often exhaust all of those funds. So I want to encourage you to apply so we can keep using that up so that the state legislature continues to put money in that little pot for us. We also want to showcase that we've done a really nice job of expanding summer meals to more communities and more counties across the state. And you can see from the map here that over half of the counties in Nebraska have at least one summer feeding site. And we think that's really commendable, considering that you can see that, sites exist in counties that really are very rural. And we know that's a big challenge for our summer food sponsors is, making sure that they can make the program work financially, even though they might not have access to a large group of kids in their communities because the state is so rural. But we've had schools take on that responsibility, have really done great with it, have used expansion dollars to add sites in the nearby really small towns, even where the schools that the kids attend don't exist. So we want to commend sponsors for doing that, and I want you to know that every little bit helps, and we hope that someday we can get all of these counties in Nebraska, all 93 of them, covered by at least one summer food site, because every site means at least a few more kids are getting access to a breakfast and or a lunch during the summertime, and when they're not in school, that's especially important for the low-income kids that reside across the state. Here we see that schools have really played a vital role in serving those summer meals, and we like schools for a number of reasons. They do a great job. They obviously are well known in the community, and the school food service staff and teachers who support summer meals at those school sites are really familiar to the kids. So it's a safe place they can go to see adults that they trust. But we also want to commend our nonprofits, food banks, and our smaller church and tribal affiliated organizations that choose to sponsor summer meals in their communities. We know that we rely heavily on the schools to fill this need, but any support we get from nonprofit organizations is something we want to extend appreciation to as well. And oftentimes they can work together with schools to promote and support each other's summer feeding activities. And we just want to highlight that schools really play a vital role in making sure those kids get fed, obviously not only during the school year, but they extend that support to kids even outside of school because they recognize the importance of healthy food, access to healthy food throughout the summer, and access to activities at sites, because those two things together help keep kids healthy and active and help reduce some of that summer learning loss that we see or could see without the program. And this is a nice illustration to show that we've had a pretty steady increase in the number of both sponsors of summer meals as well as the number of sites that those sponsors are operating. We did see a little decrease in the number of sites from 2018 to 2019, though we added a few sponsors here and there. We believe that that decrease in sites from 283 in 18 down to 272 in 2019 relates most closely to construction that happens at school sites sometimes during the summer when the kids aren't there. They need to get in there and do some work. But we have a nice mix of sponsors that really try to communicate with each other about, especially in the metro areas where you've got more than one sponsor, they communicate with each other about what might be closed for the summer. And we've got a food bank very willing to fill in the gaps there when that kind of thing happens. But we like to see sites continue to operate year after year after year. And we know some have to take a break, but hopefully we can get those added back along with some others for 2020.
All right, looks good. I actually noticed that I mixed up sites and sponsors on this graph, so sorry about that, Katie.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. All right, well, I wanted to just give you a quick update on what Nebraska Appleseed has worked on over the last little bit so that you all know where we're coming from as advocates in this space. We sent a survey to all summer food service sponsors 72 in our state, and got responses back from 39. This is an example of a question that we got an answer to: how was attendance at your site compared to your expectations? Nice bell curve there. So we think that's pretty normal. It's nice that folks are getting the attendance they want, but I'm sure all of you out there would like to see more kids eating. Nobody is doing this for the money. Folks in our state are doing the work of being a summer food sponsor so that they can help their community. We also accomplished about 10 interviews throughout the state that were wide-ranging. They about an hour's worth each to learn more about best practices happening in our state. This is a list of those folks, and from these things, we created a summer best practices toolkit that is full of Nebraska examples and full of people that you will recognize from webinars and from school nutrition and from nonprofits around the state. It is available for download at neappleseed.org/summerfood. That is the place to be to find the information related to Nebraska Appleseed summer food work, including this toolkit. So we encourage you to use that as a compendium to this webinar. Go to this website and download it as soon as you can. All right, so advertising and menu planning, that did come up in our surveys and in our conversations with summer food sponsors around the state. And so we just pulled this data, this one other data point to get us started for we're gonna do a quick rundown of what we've learned and what is found in the toolkit. And then we will hand it over to some experts who are actually doing summer food service in our communities or overseeing them to give you some of their insights. So this was a good question. How useful would the following resources be to increase the number of children served through your summer program? So how useful would these resources be if you had them? Greater community awareness about the summer food service program. People thought it was very important, more than any other of these, to get more resources toward community awareness. Outreach materials themselves, also, people thought that would be very important. Better quality food relates slightly to menu planning, but we have some other data. I'm going to hand over to Bailey to share a little bit more about right now about menus.
Hi, everyone. So as you can see here, we pulled one of our survey questions, and over half of the respondents who agreed to this one agreed or strongly agreed that menu choices were a factor that led to more children coming back to the service. That was something that was pretty important. So we're going to go over some examples here from sites in our state. So to start with, some best practices relating to menu planning are taste testing. So Becca Woolsey at the YWCA of Adams County, what she does is she does taste testing with various kids in her community. So she'll put up posters, invite kids to come around for a day and taste test fresh local food. She does a nutrition lesson so kids can learn a little bit more about healthy eating and also what they would be eating if they were to continue attending the site. So taste testing helps not only her inform her menu decisions, but it also helps kids keep coming back. It has greater buy-in because when students feel that when they are able to make an influence or change to the menu, they're more likely to want to keep coming back because they've already put that effort into it. Next slide. Another best practice is to serve culturally appropriate meals. So for example, Mary Kelsey in Winnebago, she serves culturally appropriate buffalo meat sloppy joes to kids at her site, as well as on occasion she'll serve a traditional Native American dessert called uchapi, which is a blueberry dessert with walnuts. So meals need to be culturally appropriate. For example, if there's a lot of immigrant kids that are in an area, you might want to look at what kind of foods that they're familiar with, what foods that they like that are coming from their cultures instead of just American food, just burgers or whatever, things like that. And our final example is special days to create buzz in the community and bring in more children. So kind of similar to a spike event, a special day can like really boost your participation. So Brenda Buchholz in Overton, I think she spoke on Tuesday. She encourages participation by making a community event out of a big favorite. So 2 to 3 times during a summer, participation at Overton site will go from 80 to about 175 by hosting a special Chicken Friday, where kids get a chance to have a fried chicken meal, and this brings in just a ton of people. In summary, these are just a few examples of how your menu can increase or change your participation.
All right, sounds good. Advertising is our next topic we wanted to make sure folks knew about. It's obvious that you kids and adults and families need to know more about what's happening at the site for them to attend the site. If they don't know about the program or get confused by what they see, they cannot be expected to participate. I'll also add that messaging is particularly important for the summer meals program. It could be looked on as just for the poor kids, just for the folks who are struggling to come. It is up to you all as sponsors to be out there promoting it as meals for all. That's kind of the trick that, not necessarily a trick, that is the message that brings more kids in and increases the participation at your sites and helps you be sustainable. Our survey results showed that people, it's pretty clear, 1 and 2, social media are the best ways to get folks to your sites. Folks using Facebook, being smart about social media and Twitter, things like that, and finding the sites where kids are participating, building a presence there, and then using it to share your menu, to share the times that you're open, and get more kids there is ideal. Flyers followed by some more traditional news media, school newsletter, and word of mouth kind of round out this list and on down. But it's clear social media is ideal for where we should be spending some of our time. We pulled a national list that, and then we formatted it up to give you a chance to look at what you are doing and what you're not, in terms of what you're doing for outreach in your areas. This is intended just as a way for you to expand what you're up to, engage the community in different ways, and use this in ways that make sense to you. Obviously, it's not going to be one size fits all. We don't necessarily ask you to do every single one of these, but think about ways you can make an impact and give it a try. If it doesn't work the first time, don't do it again and keep trying. That's all that I think the lesson that we've learned from talking to more and more sponsors is just keep trying. All right, well, I am excited to share, or to have our guest speaker come in and share a little bit about what's happening in his district. It's a bigger school district in Omaha, or in Millard, and near Omaha. And they are doing really new and innovative things with the help of their staff. But Justin Wiley is the nutrition director over there. So Justin, I'm going to hand it over to you. If you can get off mute, can you do it?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yep.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Yeah, so my name is Justin Wiley. I'm the food service director here at Millard Public Schools, which is in the suburbs of West Omaha. If you're not familiar with Millard, our district is about 24,000 enrollment. And as of January, our actual free and reduced is 24% as well. So not a real high free and reduced, but summer feeding has been something that is growing in our district. We're heading into, I believe, our 5th year of hosting it. Our first summer that we hosted summer feeding, we served approximately 6,000 total meals. And as of last year, we served a total of 34,000 meals. So it's grown significantly in a short time. So each year we learn something a little bit new and different ways to, as we've been talking about, reach out to the public and let them know what's going on. So, yep, feel free. So when we're kind of into that stage, what I call now of, we're getting into that pre-summer planning stage. So we're starting to learn about what activities are going on at the buildings. You know, what buildings are going to be open and available for us to use outside of the construction projects that are happening. Any of the, like the summer Kids Connection, Kids Network things that are going on, those are sites typically closed for us. But on the sites that are available, what kind of activities do they have going on? Do they have STEM camps? Do they have other educational enrichment going on? Do they have summer school? What are your summer school locations? And any other kinds of things, of whether it be swim lessons, athletic trainings, band camps, because our schools are community gathering places for learning. So we found that if we can have food offerings in those places and let those particular groups know that we're there, they end up coming. So we start to build out a calendar of where those things are going to be. And then we really look at how do we get this message out to the community? So I've got some examples later on here, but how we engage the community and let them know we're out there and what we're doing, as well as how we advertise. I think you can, jump ahead there. So one of the things that the district does is a summer activity fair, and it's really an internal fair to the school district, or anybody in the public can attend. This is hosted coming up here in about 2 weeks, and anybody within the district who's holding some kind of summer program can have a booth. So with our booth, we jazz it up and we provide food to get people to come over, which then gives us an opportunity to talk about our upcoming summer feeding program and the locations it's at. We can start to break down, person to person, any stigma that people may have associated with it. And it's just a great live opportunity to start to spread our message. General attendance at this fair is about 200 to 300 people. So it's, we get a decent level of exposure right off the bat. So for us to start to promote it, we really, I'm kind of look for all the free avenues here. So we work with the district and building administration, letting our superintendent know, letting our associate superintendents of education know, our transportation directors, any of those people who can help spread the word down to the site level. And we start to share it at a district level, and then we get the building administration involved, not just the principals of the sites where we plan to be hosted, but we let all principals know so that they can start to incorporate in their messaging out to their families of sites where they can seek out summer feeding. They start to build it into their school announcements, whether it's over the PA system or their Friday folders that they do. We provide, a little blurb of language for them so that it's just something they can plug in and talk about and take the think out of it. We work with the activity directors, especially at the high school level. They're the ones who are typically having the direct contact with the coaches, any camps going on, gather their schedule of activities. And at one of our sites, we've actually adjusted our times when we're open for breakfast and for lunch around the times of when the camps either start or end, so we can make sure that the students have an opportunity to make it down. And through social media, our district as a whole has really embraced social media. And so we internally in our food service department have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, and an Instagram page. And we promote as much as we can through those mediums, the program as it's coming up, as well as when the program is active. It's just a constant way that you can show the public visually what we're offering and serving on a daily basis. I think I have some examples of that on the next slide here. So what I also wanted to kind of highlight on social media is you can start to see the impact of people that you're reaching. So here's a simple message that we shared out on Twitter right at the start of our summer feeding program. Tag the key people in your district, and superintendent gets a lot of followers. So if you tag them, then you get all their impressions. So then on the right there is the analytics from this particular tweet of who got to see it and media views. So an impression is really just when you open up your phone and you actually see the tweet. We reached 7,000 people just like that within a matter of one tweet. Total engagement is usually deals with those who have clicked on it, liked it, reshared it, things like that, or commented on it. So it's just a easy, not a very time-consuming way to get out to the people in your district. And if there's anybody following you beyond the district, then you're reaching people beyond the borders of your enrollment or your enrollment area. Another one is another slide here, another tweet that we had. Again, this one had almost 13,000 views. So again, just another clear example, kind of explained this too as far as who can participate in the summer meal program. Throughout the summer, I think we've all experienced that either, on a rainy day, you tend to get slower, or once you get into those dog days of July, it really slows down. So this is a time where if we're trying to send out weekly messages, we can show them what's on the menus. We can show them, that it's a comfortable and inviting place to participate. And so they can just visually see it right away. And so here's just some stats that we've had just from last year to this year. We did have more sites this past summer. The previous summer, I think we had a little bit more construction going on. But we've had a 66 or almost 68% increase in meals, 66% alone in lunch, and a 42% increase in breakfast. And again, a lot of our participation happened at a high school where we had swimming lessons going on, we had athletic camps going on. We didn't even have the summer school at one particular high school, but they're still feeding almost 300 meals a day just between all the different activities that were in the building. And so it makes it an effective site. Our menus are pretty simple. I mean, we keep it to, again, what the kids are going to like between grab and go type sandwiches, grill items, and pizza, and just some fruit and vegetable side offerings. And that makes it seems to satisfy what everybody has. And then day over day, you start to see a really kind of a repetitive customer base. And then I really find out through the summer that the site staff that's working it gets to know those regular families, and then they kind of form a bond that way. And that it's just that old adage of good customer service continues to bring in more and more patrons, and that's just another way that you can get a positive feeling around the summer food service program. And when you're doing a really good job, then the principal administration out there tweets for you, and they start to share the message for you. And this was at a particular site where we were hosting summer feeding, and they wanted to brag about us, and we're more than happy when that happens because it shows that it's a worthwhile program in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Wow. Yeah, the jump in participation is pretty intense. And it seems like all of these strategies coming together help make that happen. We will have time to ask questions for Justin, everybody on the call. So write those down if you can. I'm going to hand it over to Katie now to give some high-level suggestions on menu planning and advertisement too. So Katie, why don't you take it from here?
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Eric. So like Eric said, my hyperlinks aren't showing up, but that's okay. We can maybe click. Yeah, thank you for clicking on those or being ready to click on them. High level overview, because as you all know, I don't work directly in the program, but as a site staff member or member of the sponsoring organization's team for summer meals. But I see a lot of different things in all of the site visits that I do every summer. So I gathered some input from the other Summer Food Squad members, and we thought we could come up with some things that we see that we notice work really well for the sites who use these ideas pretty consistently. And so I can't read what that says, Eric. You'll have to help me. Or click on it for me, please. Will that hyperlink open for you? I think it's just the meal pattern chart. And everyone should be familiar with that. But if you're new to the program or know that you're not really looking at that every summer when you go to plan your menu, I just wanted to make sure you know that it's a resource you can use. So summer sponsors, no matter what kind of organization it is, can choose to use the summer food service meal pattern. Yeah, it's in this nutrition guide. I think on page 9, Eric. I thought it would go directly to the page that we wanted to look at. So I apologize for the error here. Yep, there it was. Yeah, right there. So I wanted to make sure everyone knows that this nutrition guide, along with the meal pattern chart, is available. And it's a really important piece of making sure that you're serving reimbursable meals that provide all the minimum required components for a meal. So if you're a school sponsor, like an SFA that operates the school lunch program, you have the option of continuing your school lunch meal pattern into the summer food service program if you'd like to. If you are not an SFA that operates the National School Lunch Program, you have to use the meal pattern chart here. So like I said, just a really important piece of making sure that you're providing all of the required meal components, depending on what type of meal you serve, as well as the minimum required quantities for each of those components. So yeah, you can navigate back to the slides if you want to, Eric. Thank you. There we go. Okay, awesome. So utilizing that chart along with some standardized recipes is going to help make for more efficient ordering of the foods you need to prepare those meals, as well as more efficient meal preparation. If you're utilizing a cycle menu with those standardized recipes, then you're going to know exactly how much to order based on the number of servings of each of the components that you need to prepare in order to meet the needs of all the kids who come to your site. Using that cycle menu with standardized recipes is also going to help you minimize food waste by really helping you home in on, the right amount of ordering to place. The right orders to place to prepare exactly what you need for the kids who are going to come to your site. It's also going to help ensure that adequate quantity is prepared, and I mentioned that earlier, and that's a really important piece of the integrity part of the program. I don't want any sponsors to lose money, reimbursement money, that is, because they've served inadequate quantity. So if we visit a site and see that you're only serving the kiddos 1 ounce of meat or meat alternate when they should have 2, those would be meals that we wouldn't allow a sponsor to claim. So you've put in the time and the effort to prepare this great meal, and if it's short on quantity, you don't get to reap any of the financial benefits of providing that meal that met all other requirements except for the meat alternate requirement. So that's just a nice example to illustrate that one little mistake can have some financial consequences in the program. So again, utilizing that cycle menu with standardized recipes that are going to provide the minimum required quantities of each of the components is a really important piece of planning an effective menu that's going to ensure that you receive all the reimbursement for the meals that you serve. We also want you to emphasize appealing, nutritious foods on your menus, and that might be in the words you use to describe them on the actual menu that you post, but also it comes down to the way things look and smell to kids, We want you to choose whole grain options when possible, but I understand that not every kid is going to like every whole grain option or whole grain version of every grain item that you serve, but some of the more popular ones that we've noticed in our visits to summer meal sites are whole grain tortillas used in tacos or quesadillas, whole grain buns for like hot dogs, hamburgers, stuff like that, sloppy joes, even whole grain dinner rolls and some breakfast cereals tend to be pretty well accepted by kids. They've got a slightly browner color, but because most kids have been exposed to foods like that through the school lunch program over the years, we want you to know that we support service of those more nutritious items and want you to continue serving those if you can and if the kids will still eat them. We also want to talk about or share with you the idea to just serve the rainbow. So we reference that with the fruit and vegetable components in terms of serving not only a variety of colors like the rainbow, but also a variety of flavors and textures as well. So a simple exercise to use to kind of assess how much of the rainbow you serve is to literally write down the color groups that you see represented in your menu. So you might do whites and then yellows and then oranges and reds as one group, purples and blues as another, and then maybe green items. And so just make a tally of how often you see each of those colors represented in your menu, and you might see an opportunity to improve that, where you serve more of a greater variety of colors and more even distribution of all of those colors of the rainbow. So if you've got really heavy on maybe white and yellows, and you notice you need to add a blue, a purple, or a dark green, then that's an opportunity to just have a visual kind of reminder of where your menu is, and then a couple of ways you could probably improve it in terms of offering a wider variety of fruits and veggies. We also encourage you to use the CACFP meal pattern serving sizes for both older and younger participants at your summer meal site. I think that I have a link there to the 1 to 6 year old meal pattern chart. So if you want to click on that, Eric, you could. It should be on the just to the right of the word receive. Yep. So all of the component groups are the same with the CACFP meal pattern compared to the summer food service program meal pattern. You're just going to notice that though there's a 1 and 2 year old age group, and then a 3, 4, and 5 year old age group, and those serving sizes are a little bit different, and they're just meant to reflect the smaller portion needs for kiddos who are younger. And so if serving a meal with smaller portions makes it more appealing to or less overwhelming to some of those really young kiddos you might get at your site, we want you to know that using that smaller portion meal pattern is an option if you'd like to use it. And if we navigate back to the slide, I've got one more hyperlink up there too, Eric. On the other side of that coin is the ability to serve larger portion sizes to some of the older teenage kiddos you might have visit your site, so high school age kids, or if you're a small town and you've got lots of student athletes who participate in sports, they're probably doing some summer conditioning, and if you're feeding them breakfast either before or after their summer workout, you might need those larger portion sizes. So we do allow you to utilize the portion sizes you see here in the CACFP adult meal pattern. Again, the required components at both breakfast and lunch are the same between this meal pattern and the traditional summer food service meal pattern. The only difference is that the portions are a little bit larger here. So if you've got some older kiddos who you know are pretty hungry people, you can utilize this meal pattern for breakfast or for lunch. And then we want you to, emphasize choosing foods you know the kids like to eat. And I mean, I ask sites all the time, and some of the most common things I hear are like chicken nuggets and chicken strips and pizza. And of course, those are all well loved by kiddos. So don't hesitate to serve those. Just make sure that the things you're serving with those foods are highly nutritious as well. Again, considering the rainbow and offering whole grain options when you can. You can compare your daily meal counts against your menu items to identify which days have higher participation. So you could utilize those menu options possibly more frequently, those main item dishes more frequently, or entree item dishes more frequently, and just make sure to kind of mix up and add a lot of variety when it comes to fruits and veggies you're offering alongside those entree items. We also encourage sponsors to do taste tests to gather feedback about things that the kids enjoy. Don't hesitate to do that. Or you could do like a try a bite type of thing with a little taste test where the kids rate how they like that item with a smiley face or a sad face. That's an easy way to get kids involved and get kids of all ages to be able to respond to that taste test and give you feedback about the things they like. We want to just remind you to avoid some of those foods that could be choking hazards for the youngest participants, because as you know, that summer feeding site that you're operating should be open to all kiddos who come through the door ages 1 through 18. That is, if you're operating an open feeding site, which most of you are. So just an awareness that you can probably serve them the same foods you give the older kids, but they just might need a little bit more preparation to be cut into smaller bites or in some form that you know isn't going to pose a choking hazard to some of those younger kiddos who visit your site. I want to bring your attention to some of the free resources we offer sponsors. We do provide free posters, bookmarks, postcards, and door hangers with the graphic that you see in the bottom right corner of the slide here. We send that order form out to sponsors in mid-March, get those items ordered and then packaged and out to sponsors by late April or early May, which gives them time to get those things posted in sites across their communities where they know that they could see some lots of traffic or lots of eyes would be on them. New for 2020, we're going to offer those same items mentioned above in customizable materials or formats so that sponsors can digitally add their own site-specific information and then print those on their own if they'd like to. So we think that's a nice feature that lots of sponsors are going to benefit from, and it's one of the things we were able to act on from feedback we received from sponsors after last year's operation. So we hope people take advantage of that. Like Justin mentioned, there's lots of ways to utilize your school communication tools and avenues to promote summer meals. So whether you're a school operating or maybe a nonprofit or church organization, we want to encourage you to work with the school in your community to help get the word out about your summer meals operation. So giving some sample language, maybe providing the graphic that you see here to have to put in a school newsletter or on the school's website or any other type of digital or paper communication that gets sent home with parents or to parents with the kiddos is something we encourage you to do. We also think that advertising your program and getting kiddos and families to want to visit your sites can be enhanced by planning some theme days or maybe special events that feature some special, not so common menu items that you wouldn't normally serve. Or maybe you feature some fun activities. And that kind of ties back to what we talked about with a couple of our sponsors on the Tuesday's webinar, but really trying hard to feature those new and exciting things, and that what's happening at your site isn't just a meal, that they can come to your site to do something fun. It might be make crafts where you've asked for the help from a local extension office or a Rotary Club who could come to do some sidewalk chalk stuff or blow bubbles with the kids or something like that. Make sure you're highlighting those really fun things you're doing at the site, because from what I've seen across all sites that I've visited across the state, it's that if it's only meals and meals alone, it's really hard to get kids to keep coming to that. So if you've got things planned, make sure you're getting the word out about those special activities or anything out of the ordinary that's happening at your site, because I promise you that from what I've seen, that's really going to do a great job of helping attract kids, both returning kiddos and new ones who haven't come to your site before.
Katie, I know the graphic below and the materials were created in Spanish last year. Are those going to be available again this year?
Great question. Yes, all of those things will be available in both English and Spanish. Thank you for asking.
Sure.
So again, this reiterates a lot of what Justin shared, but the things we see are successful are utilization of social media, especially not just promoting that you have summer meals, but using it to promote those special activities you do alongside your summer meals. You might consider asking a local newspaper or radio station to visit your site during your meal service so they can highlight what you do and get some media attention on what you're doing as a service to the community. You could post your weekly menu in the newspaper, on your school website, or use social media to highlight the nutritious foods that you're offering to kids, and include pictures of that delicious food if you can. And then if you include photos of children, make sure you've got a parent or guardian permission or release to do that. I just wanted to throw that out there because I think it's an important piece to remember, and we wouldn't want anyone getting in trouble for using, pictures that they shouldn't. We encourage you to canvass your neighborhood around wherever your meal site is and utilize those door hangers I talked about earlier. And again, remember that ties directly back to the grant funds we have available. If you have a couple of staff you would be willing, that would be willing to do this work, if they get a little bit of money, then that's something that can be covered under the terms of the grant. Let's see. And then again, post those summer food posters in high traffic areas like the swimming pool, the local grocery or convenience stores, maybe the post office, or other places that kiddos like to spend time in the summer, like the skate park, places like that. And I'm sure, if you're a nonprofit involved in who works closely with children or a school, you're well aware of those places that kiddos spend their time in the summer.
Well, all right. Thank you, Katie, very much for sharing all that. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to let you. Okay, good. Well, folks, now's your chance to unmute yourself and ask a question to either of our speakers. I will mention, I'll get us kicked off, though, with a question to Justin. I am really curious about that growth and how you have used feedback from your students and how you've gotten feedback from your students to inform how you're serving meals at the summer food sites.
I think it's been an evolution of learning throughout the years that we've been hosting the program. One thing that I think we have found, even without asking the kids, is just the consistency on where we host the program and our serving times in general. We're people, we're all creatures of habit, and so if we can have a consistent serving site year over year, in which we try to do, that's been one of the ways. Our site staff has been really good. I mentioned earlier how they kind of form those bonds with those participants that come in. And our site staff has been really good about soliciting feedback from the kids as far as what they liked, what they didn't like, if there's anything they want to see. And so if we're not able to incorporate it on the menu that summer, we try to incorporate it on the following summer menu.
Excellent. Thanks, Justin. All right, folks, anybody else on the line have questions for our folks about advertising, menus, grant?
I've got a question for Justin or Katie, or actually anyone, I guess, who can answer it. But what are some like good example of like just easily copied like stock phrases, I guess, for like social media posts or examples of them that can bring in like more participation to your sites?
I think that I'm not the direct poster of that. I've got a manager on my staff that has teenagers, and she can speak their language and understand how the technology works. But I think one of the things that really speaks is making it as visual as possible. So, you know, if you can get out ahead of when the crowd shows up and get some pictures of the food before it's been touched by the crowd, so it's nice and fresh when it's first presented, or even capturing some of those pictures of the plates as the kids take it, or make up a plate of your own and show them some of the options that they can build or get at the summer feeding site. So it's really kind of take it from your perspective as a consumer and what would draw you to a site to want to participate, and then include that in the summer feeding, the visual portion of the post. As far as language, you can keep it simple, kind of talk in your own speak that you're comfortable with. Otherwise, I believe, I can't remember if NDE shared it or if it was another organization, but there used to be a resource of Twitter captions that you could send out as well, so you didn't have to try to think up of a quote or a text or anything.
Awesome.
That does remind me, I think this year we're going to have some support to create some Twitter and Facebook templates, including graphics that you can customize, just like the postcards and postcards and posters. So hopefully that can support you all being a little more focused on food rather than some of this outreach stuff. Okay, others with questions. Oh, go ahead.
One group I was going to say, one group I forgot to mention earlier in my presentation of making sure you talk to is the social workers and the counselors in the school buildings, because they often have their network and ways of communicating out the summer feeding sites for you.
I'll add translators to that for folks in immigrant communities. They're the hubs of information and can share a lot. Other questions? All right, let's see. I guess Chuck raised his hand. Chuck, can you unmute yourself? It looks like
Okay.
you're unmuted. There you go.
I have a question. We always have a problem with serving peanut butter. You know, we serve peanut butter with the apples and with the celery. And last year we decided not to include it in the meal. We take the sack lunch out, and then we have hot entrees that we serve at various locations. Does anybody have any idea or ideas about, serving peanut butter because of the, peanut allergies a lot of kids have?
A safe alternative out there is sunflower butter. It has a little bit different taste, but the kids seem to be accepting of it.
Are you wanting something non-perishable, Chuck, or
Well,
like peanut butter is?
it's always been easy for us just to get the peanut butter packs.
Yeah.
So, we have a problem. We went from 3,100 meals in 58 days 2 years ago to 7,100 last year.
That's a lot. That's good.
But we're at capacity.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out the easiest way to do some of these things. And
Well, I do know that like Justin mentioned, the sun butter is going to be an easy, probably single portion, non-perishable packaged item that you could toss into a lunch. If you're refrigerating those lunch bags, those cold lunches, you could consider like cheese sticks or a small portion of yogurt, or a cheese stick and a small yogurt together to meet the meat alternate requirement for those kiddos who cannot have peanut butter. So.
And we have done that. We do refrigerate the lunches that we take out to kids, and so we do have yogurt sticks and other perishable items that we send out. But I don't know. Is just handing out peanut butter when kids ask for it, is that a alternative too?
You mean like if they're asking, or you're saying you want peanut butter or a cheese stick, or?
Yes. Yeah, that may be.
Yeah, I mean, that seems appropriate, and every kid who's got a peanut allergy is probably aware of it if they're visiting your site, like they're old enough to visit your site without a parent.
Right.
Yep, that would be okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, I think we have time for maybe one more question.
It's Katie, and I was just curious what Justin knows about how his team plans their menus, and maybe they just continue to use the school lunch or the same menu that they use during the school year, but he's an expert who works in the field and might have other ideas to share, or might be able to say that some of the ideas I shared were not usable. So do you have anything you want to add to what I said, Justin?
No, actually, a lot of what you did say made sense. We use a lot of our items that we have on the regular school year that we carry over into the summer feeding, and we typically pick the things that were more popular during the school year. So at our high school side, we've got a little bit more room to spread around, but we actually offer a couple of hot entrees where we do a pizza and a grill daily, and then we try to do a cold sandwich and a cold salad daily. And then we've got a variety of fruits and vegetables, which mimics our offering bar during the regular school year. So
Right.
it allows for a little bit of customization, but it still has things that kids are familiar with on a regular basis.
Right. So in addition to like your main entree, you're saying whatever that is, that rotates daily. But in addition to that main entree item, you're also offering, like you said, a cold sandwich or like a chef salad or something like that for a little bit of variety, or that could help meet the nutritional requirements for kids who maybe practice a vegetarian diet. You might see that sometimes in the metro areas. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I just wanted to kind of circle that back to our sponsors that are not schools that operate the program. And I would definitely encourage you all to reach out to the schools and to their food service to see what they offer, or just take a glance at their menu online. And then if you wanted to contact them to talk about what some of their more popular menu items are, then you could kind of mirror that, or at least get some information from them about what they've had success providing to the kids during the school year.
All right, with that, I think we are going to have to wrap things up. Thank you very much to our speakers, Katie and Justin. Very good stuff. As a reminder, folks, this summer food service equipment grant is only available through the 28th. Is that right, Katie? 28th or 29th?
Sorry, it was muted. Yep, through the 28th. You've got like through the end of the day next Friday.
Next Friday. Perfect. Okay, but lots of great ideas for where you can be spending those dollars, and reminder that it is an annual grant. You can do it every year. We are very curious about whether you're going to use any of these best practices, not just because it's grant funded and we need to quantify this stuff, but because it is important for us to follow up and learn about this. So go to our 2-minute survey at neappleseed.org/summerfood. And I'm thinking we're going to have to incentivize it with a gift card of some kind. If you participate, you're going to be entered into a $25 Amazon gift card. Let's just say that now. Last slide, that neappleseed.org/summerfood is your go-to place for this toolkit, as well as these webinars. We're going to post this video within the next few days. Go there to share it with friends and maybe your family. Contact any of our speakers through this. Justin is available through his website at Millard Public Schools, but feel free to get in contact with him through us as well. And with that, you have 1 minute to yourselves before your next meetings. So thanks everybody for participating, and good luck out there. Thank you. Mm-hmm.